इससे पहले तमाम सैटेलाइट और स्पेस मिशंस लॉन्च किए गए हैं, लेकिन विक्रम-1 बेहद ख़ास इसलिए है क्योंकि इसे निजी स्पेस कंपनी ने बनाया है। स्काईरूट जो इसरो के साइंटिस्ट द्वारा बनाई गई एक कंपनी है, 2018 में इसकी स्थापना हुई। 2020 में जब सरकार ने स्पेस को प्राइवेट सेक्टर के लिए खोला, उसके बाद लगातार उस पर काम तेज हो गया। आप मेरे पीछे देख सकते हैं, विक्रम-1 को यहाँ लॉन्च पैड पर रखा गया है और ये 7 माले का एक रॉकेट है जो 350 किलोग्राम का पेलोड लेकर मिशन आगमन के तौर पर जाएगा। आगमन यानी कि किस तरह से स्पेस इंडस्ट्री आ रही है और प्राइवेट सेक्टर के लिए संभावनाएं खुल रही हैं, ये इसको दर्शाता है। खास बात यह है कि 450 किलोमीटर की दूरी पर यानी कि लोअर अर्थ ऑर्बिट पर विक्रम-1 पहुंचेगा और ये पहली बार होगी कि जब कोई गैर सरकारी कंपनी यहाँ पर एक ऑर्बिटल रॉकेट को लॉन्च कर रही है। यानी संभावनाओं के साथ साथ अंतरिक्ष विज्ञान को लेकर ये एक बेहद बड़ी पहल है और 2020 के बाद जो शुरुआत सरकार के द्वारा की गई, ये उसके लिए एक बड़ी उपलब्धि माना जा रहा है। 2020 में जब भारत सरकार ने स्पेस सेक्टर को प्राइवेट कंपनियों के लिए खोला था, तब से अब तक इस फील्ड में काफ़ी विकास हो चुका है। 2022 में विक्रम-S जो पहला सब ऑर्बिटल रॉकेट था, उसे लॉन्च किया गया था और अब विक्रम-1 जो ऑर्बिट में जाने वाला प्राइवेट कंपनी द्वारा बनाया गया पहला रॉकेट है, ये स्पेस में जाने के लिए तैयार है। अगर हम पेलोड्स की बात करें तो ये भी बेहद ख़ास है। यहाँ भारत के साथ साथ जर्मनी की कंपनी का पेलोड भी इस रॉकेट में जा रहा है और सेपरेशन के बाद ये डेटा कलेक्ट करेगा। इसमें हीरे भी हैं जिसे भारत की तरफ से स्पेस को यानी अंतरिक्ष को एक ट्रिब्यूट माना जा रहा है, क्योंकि आज का जो दिन है वो बेहद ख़ास इसलिए है क्योंकि पहली बार भारत से निजी कंपनी द्वारा बनाया गया ये रॉकेट स्पेस में जा रहा है श्रीहरिकोटा से। और ये एक श्रद्धांजलि भी है डॉक्टर CV रमन, डॉक्टर अब्दुल कलाम, सतीश धवन और तमाम उन वैज्ञानिकों के लिए जिन्होंने लगातार अपने अथक परिश्रम से भारत को इस मुकाम तक पहुंचाया। अगर विक्रम-1 की बात की जाए तो कई महीनों की मेहनत यहाँ पे लगी। साइंटिस्ट की एक टीम, 1000 लोगों की टीम ने इसे बनाया है और आज ये स्पेस में जाने वाला प्राइवेटली बनाया गया पहला ऑर्बिटल रॉकेट बन चुका है। Congratulations to you first of all. How does it feel? This is a big achievement.
Yes, thank you, Simone. It is such a surreal moment for all of us. All our team, Skyroot, has worked months together to make this moment a reality, and now we are on the verge of lifting off from Sriharikota, and all the effort of Skyroot since inception is culminating towards the result on this day, and we're all fingers crossed and waiting for the exciting moments ahead.
So what does it mean for the Indian space industry when it comes to the participation of private companies and you being one of the pioneers?
Yeah, so like the Indian space reforms, as we all know, started post-COVID era in 2020-2021, and with an objective to make India's share in global space market from a mere less than 2% to a double-digit percentage by 2030s. And launch is one of the key sectors which is an access to space, which controls the access to space. All the space economy is enabled by taking stuff to space. And rockets are the only means of transportation from Earth to orbit, and therefore space access solutions enable the entire space economy. And in India we have good space access solution capacity already developed by ISRO, but the commercial market of launch captured by Indian launch vehicles is very less. And now with that objective, like now that we have good manufacturing ecosystem that can manufacture aerospace grade rockets, what private companies like us bring to the table is the design engineering and the system engineering capability, where we can build end-to-end systems and develop. So India is also well known for affordable space missions, and that cost effectiveness naturally translates to the private sector in India. So successfully building a reliable rocket from India will naturally place us as an affordable launch solution from India to the world.
Are you already seeing some countries showing interest in your venture or similar to this orbital rocket that you have already made?
Of course, very much, because we are operate in a special segment of rockets called small satellite launches, which is a unique niche where some of the small dedicated satellites who needs to go to their unique orbits, their only viable option is to go to a small rocket. And currently there are other than SpaceX, there's only one operational rocket in the entire world operating in this space, and lot of small satellite operators want to have their launch manifest distributed among multiple rockets, and we have very good interest from countries with geographies with unique orbital requirements from Asia Pacific, from Europe, and from US. All we need to do is prove our capability and prove the reliability of the launch vehicle, and the market is out there to capture.
I'm sure it's not been easy from 2020 to 2022 when the first rocket was launched, the suborbital Vikram-1, and now this one. So what have been the most challenging part of your journey? Tell us about the team members, how many members worked for how many months together for this?
Sure. So when we launched Vikram-1 in November 18th to 2022, and at that time we were a small 150 member team, and most of the Vikram-1 development has happened over the last 4 years. Post that, and because we could raise significant funding only during that launch. And over the last 4 years, it's been an incredible experience for the team, because an orbital launch vehicle is altogether a different ball game. It's a multi-stage rocket. It's a huge 22-meter tall, 1.5-meter wide rocket, all carbon fiber with 3D printed engines, and lot of innovative subsystems we have developed uniquely with respect to the innovative separation mechanisms, the materials we use, and the avionic systems. All of them have been individually qualified at component level and then integrated. And the integrated rocket has been tested for more than a month at Skyroot before shipping to Sriharikota. And even post-shipment, we have done enormous number of tests before finally integrating the full launch vehicle now, as you see on the launch pad. So we have immense confidence on how things on the rocket. But of course, statistically, odds are not in our favor for a first orbital launch in this thing. So we hope we beat the odds with this first launch attempt, and all this was only possible for the immense effort of the team Skyroot, who has put their sweat and blood to make this happen in reality.
So when we talk about the payload, some very special attributes are also going towards the space with the Vikram-1. Tell us about this and how you thought about it.
Yeah, so we in the first launch, actually it's not a tradition to actually carry very much meaningful payloads in the first launch, and we are one of the, in that sense also we're doing an exception where we have almost 2-3 commercial payloads who trust our capability and launching on our launch vehicle. We have an in-orbit demonstration experiment by Cosmoserve, an in-space robotics company. And there's one more company called Graha Space who's launching their one new CubeSat. But in addition, as you mentioned, there are some novel ideas we're trying out because we have excess payload capacity. There's a good micro-art where in a needle we have a great micro-artist has etched the Kalam, Vikram Sarabhai, and C.V. Ramanji's sculptures in a micro-art, and we are taking that to space. There's one more surprise. We'd like to reveal it in the orbit once we reach orbit. But yes, once we reach orbit, it's going to be one of the spectacular achievements, because we will be one of the only companies in the private sector who succeeded in the first launch, if we ever try to make it happen. So as far as we are concerned, the mission objective is very clear, lifting off safely, clearing the launch pad, and getting as much data as possible as we go through the ascent of the launch vehicle is a great success for the first mission, and anything more we can achieve is totally a bonus for us.
So my last question, since the inception of this idea in 2018 and various launches that are now happening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurating the campus, where do you see this journey heading to for India and for you also.
Yes. So this is just a beginning. This is one of the pivotal moment, and that's why we named this mission Agaman, the arrival of the new era. Because this being able to put a privately developed launch vehicle on the launch pad ready for launch is itself a tremendous success and a great milestone. And with this, it's a matter of time. Even if we learn some lessons in the first launch, often it will be due to a very not so major reason. And generally, most of the rocket failure happens due to very minor reasons. Even if some learning we have in the first launch, we're sure we can quickly come back and have a success in second launch or third launch. But India will have a good operational launch vehicle from Skyroot by the end of this year, and also there are many more players that are coming. So in the vision for the Indian space policy to make the private industry a driver for the space economy is going to become a reality in this year, and it's going to accelerate in an exponential pace over the next few years.
Thank you so much, and wish you a lot of success to you and to Indian space industry. How do you see this as an achievement, not only for you, your company, but for country?
Oh, so I think it's a very big milestone where a private company has designed a rocket, orbital grade rocket, brought it to the launch pad, is ready for liftoff, and going to launch to orbit. I think it's globally very few companies are able to achieve it. So I think doing it from India, we're very proud, and it's a great milestone for Skyroot, for India, and also for globally as well, because the world requires more access to space.
India has been showing its skill, the kind of belief that ISRO has brought in when it comes to space research. So how are you taking it ahead, and especially when it comes to opening up the private domain in 2020? Yeah. And since then, how the journey has been? Tell us about other players also or who are working on this.
Yeah, so I think, see, India has been like the top 5 nations globally. For example, we have proved our mettle, with the moon missions, the Mars missions, the missions to the sun, and, we have our large rockets, we have satellites, we have a fleet of vehicles, etc. So I think India has proved a lot of capability and among the top 5 nations globally. And however, our share in the global market is just 2% right now. And the aspiration of the government is to make it close to 10%. And that requires opening up the sector to private players. That's the whole, reasoning for opening up the sector to private investment. And just in the last few years, there have been more than $600 million of investment coming in. And, we ourselves, Skyroot has been leading in this. We started in 2018, and we have launched India's first private rocket to space in 2022. Now we are launching India's first private orbital rocket as well. And very few companies in the world are launching regularly to space, and we'll be one of them. And proud that the Indian ecosystem has actually made it happen, because ISRO over decades has built a great ecosystem of whether it is suppliers, whether it is talent, whether it is the launch pads which we are in right now, right? So we are utilizing the launch pad of ISRO, the historical launch pad, the first launch pad. So all that ecosystem exists. We are building on top of it and making it possible. And then I think now there are in India, there are over 400 startups doing various things in space. Space is pretty large, and there are rockets, and there are satellites, there is downstream services, etc. I think one of the fastest growing space ecosystems globally is what India is today.
When it comes to talent and skill, nothing can beat Indian scientists. But what about the components? Because there's a lot of focus of indigenization and Atmanirbharta. How do you see in your project this?
Yeah, so Vikram-1 is 100% designed in India, designed by Skyroot, 100% manufactured in India, and more than 90% is sourced within India. So this is a very unique, product where this level of indigenization exists for a very deep tech product like a rocket. So I think this ecosystem has been established by ISRO. Thanks to over 6 decades of journey by the Indian space program. And for example, the Vikram-1 rocket, which will be launching soon, has more than 400 suppliers from India. Building parts, various systems in the rocket, which is, I think, a very matured ecosystem which exists, which we are building on top of. So that's what makes our journey faster, better, and also globally competitive.
In terms of a League of Nations, where do you see India? When we see China, we see other countries, European nations, America. Where do you see India when it comes to opening the industry to the private sector and then development?
Yeah, so in fact, the new space policy has been announced a few years ago, and it's been formalized by Indian space policy in 2022 and 2023. It's just think of it like four years old policy, and within 4 years, as I mentioned, like it is like fastest growing ecosystem right now. Like almost employs more than 5,000 high-tech talent in the country. Raised more than $600 million. Probably will hit $1 billion soon, and we have the first unicorn. Like Skyroot became the first unicorn just few weeks ago from the sector. So this is, I think, a very booming, fast-growing sector in just few years. And among the speed of growth, I think the fastest globally. And among the capabilities, is to be seen in the coming years. We believe that we'll stand among so top nations in the globe in making it happen. And then, in fact, it's a very attractive commercial market globally. Space is a $600 billion business. It is set to become close to $2 trillion in the coming decade. Right? So it's a very attractive market to be. And India has a great chance where Indian companies can go global because the market is purely global. And like you mentioned, Indian talent is like the best. We have like the largest amount of engineers coming out of India like every year. So it's a great talent pool, great ecosystem built by ISRO. There's a great infrastructure available in the country and a great regulatory framework right now thanks to InSpace, for example, which has authorized this launch as well. In fact, Vikram-1 as well. InSpace was just inaugurated in 2022, and within few months they've authorized Vikram-1, and now Vikram-1 has been authorized. India's first private orbital launch is very complicated to actually give an authorization for an orbital launch, because it requires coordination with a lot of international agencies, a lot of safety factors come into picture, a lot of coordination and a lot of technical complexity. So I think regulatory frameworks also were top notch in India, and thanks to InSpace. I think all ecosystems very well matured to build a very strong space industry in India.
One last question, since you are a busy man right now. I want to ask you that there is a German company that is sending its payload. There are Indian companies. A lot of trust is being shown. Yeah. Are there other countries also which are interested in Vikram-1 sort of a rocket that you are making?
Yeah, in fact, 70 to 80% of our market is global. Companies across the world. I mean, from US, Europe, Southeast Asia, Japan, across the globe. I mean, so in fact, majority of the interest is global. This is, I think, one example of a pure deep tech, high tech product like a rocket. Which has a very large global market and also very competitive, considering that India has the ecosystem to build this because of the 6 decade of wisdom which has built in the space sector.
विक्रम-1 के ऑर्बिटल लॉन्च के साथ सिर्फ भारत में स्पेस इंडस्ट्री और प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स का आगमन नहीं हुआ, बल्कि एक विश्वास का आगमन हुआ है कि भारत स्पेस सेक्टर में नए कीर्तिमान भी गढ़ेगा और आगे भी बढ़ेगा। कैमरा पर्सन आलोक दास के साथ शिवानी शर्मा, श्रीहरिकोटा, आज तक।